there's some merit in that, because in most of the cases when you're using silica sand, it's a cheap product, and you really just want it to work. Saving $1 or $2 doesn't really matter compared to the downtime in production if it doesn't work. So they're prepared sometimes to pay a bit more than other people simply to get surety and continuity of supply from a reputable supplier.
So is it fair to say that quality and knowing the supplier is more important than price? So therefore, competitiveness is not the key driver? Not
always the key driver, Susan. It's changing a bit under pressure from, and if you look at silica sand in particular, the imports of silica sand into Japan have been declining over the last 20 years. And most of it now is going into places like Taiwan and Korea and other places in ASEAN, and even China will become an importer of sand. There'll be more pressure put on pricing, and I think it depends a bit on who you're dealing with in Japan itself. Some of the companies will be price sensitive, others will put more store on continuity, and particularly they would prefer, if they could, to buy from a Japanese company who produces the silica sand. For example, Cape Flattery has a good entree into Japanese producers because it's known by Mitsubishi, and so it has a direct link straight into the Japanese producers.
Okay, so
did that answer what you were after, Susan?
It does, yes. So you just mentioned Cape Flattery and that it's owned by or has a relationship with Mitsubishi. Are you able to comment on that any further, or I'm just? Yeah,
it's owned by Mitsubishi. Not a relationship. It's owned by Mitsubishi, and it's the largest exporter in Australia. In fact, it's the largest exporter in the Asian region by a long way. The last figure I had was 2.3 million tonnes in 2017-18, and it's a very, very good material. It's probably one of the best in the area. You know, you're talking about an average of 99.93%, and particularly very low in iron, which is very good for the glass makers. And it also can be beneficiated to produce a product as well. So it's the major one. Australia probably exports about 3.5 million tonnes. So Cape Flattery is about 2.3 of that 3.5.
Okay, you just mentioned that that sand can be beneficiated into a product. Can you just clarify what that would involve?
I'm talking about chemical beneficiation. When you're looking at sand, there's probably three things that people look for in general. There's the chemical side. There's the, let's make it two. There's a chemical side and the physical side. In the physical side, it could be shape of the particle, which is important. This will depend on which market you're going into, or it could be sizing, or it could be crushability, or etc. And I can talk about those individually if you like later. In the chemical side, the major market you're looking at is glass. The second major market is foundry. But in glass, there are various types of glass, and each one can have its own particular formulation. So a glass producer wants to get to a certain formulation from a variety of raw materials. Generally, you can trade one off for another. For example, if you have a glass sand that's very, very low in iron, you can perhaps use a limestone in your mix that's a bit higher in iron and therefore get a cost saving. So when a glass producer looks to his raw material supply, he has to balance off his silica sand with his limestone, sometimes with his magnesite and other raw materials that go into the glass, and get the combination, the most cost-effective combination that gives him the formulation he wants in the end. The reason iron is so important is that it's a colouring agent. Iron, and particularly iron with sulphur, if you look at a brown bottle, for example,